Body shot. Ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Oh, are we glad to be back? What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. My name is Derick G, and I am your host, and we have a lot to talk about in regard to the outcome of the UFC Fight Night 195. Listen, man, the killer gorilla, Jared Cannonier, he got the job done. He got a big win over the timeless, the ageless Kelvin Gastelum, the man who's only 29 years old, but has been in the game forever. But listen, man, we're going to talk about all of that good stuff in just 1 second. But first, I do need to say, listen, this episode is brought to you by The Bookie. It's your sharp sports betting friend that sends you an email each day full of free picks, tips, tools, and strategies you need to know for the day's games. Now listen, I get daily emails from The Bookie recapping the previous day's games, and it's full of these informative statistics that won't go over your head, even if you're a casual fan. You see, I'm a MMA junkie. I'm a combat sports junkie. But when it comes to some of these other sports, man, that's when I got to go hit up The Bookie. I go to my email just like I did this morning, go check out what they got to say, and I go and play some picks. Now, my co-host AJ, he's over there. He's getting it. He's getting his emails on the daily. Tell me what it's looking like for you, big dog.
Man, I am so happy these emails are coming in from The Bookie because like you said, Derick, we fight junkies over here, but now with fantasy season starting, man, I got to look good for the rest of the homies, man. Yeah, I'm very happy The Bookie's coming in, brother. It's a nice one to have.
Absolutely. So The Bookie, they provide trends for each team and a record of their head-to-head meetings. They give their educated predictions for the outcomes of the game and much more. Listen, folks, if you are a sports fan and you like to make money, sign up for the Bookie newsletter at www.thebookie.co. That is THEBOOKIE.co. Now, with that being said, folks, listen, man, we went one way and we went another way when it went to the picks this week, man. So let's talk about it, AJ. What happened, brother? I went 4-2, you know, kind of mediocre, not that great. Moved me to 92-65, but we had a 1-5 outing from my man, AJ, 71-86 on the year. What happened? Talk me through it.
You know, Derick, there's some times where you swinging good, you connecting with the ball, and other times where you swing and a miss, brother. And I don't know. Honestly, I went 1-5 this week, but there was even times where I felt like it should have been 0-5 with the Madsen Clay Guida fight. But, you know, we'll talk about all that later. It was a rough week for me. But you know what, man? Just like Chael Sonnen or just like the Sugar Show. Might have taken an L, but I'm undefeated in my mind, brother. We keeping it rolling.
There you go. Short memory, man. Lots of confidence, short memory. And then, yeah, shout out to the very wise Sugar Sean O'Malley. I am undefeated. I am, 14-0, 15-0 at this point, right? That loss to Cheeto didn't count. But all right, folks, listen, let's get into something that we do really good over here. But before we do that, drop a like, subscribe, go hit us up on our YouTube channel, drop a comment, hit the yellow notification icon so you know when each and every single one of our episodes are dropping. You no longer have to come and hit me up in the DM or go hit us up on the comments and be like, hey, man, I didn't know that this episode was dropping. It'll be all there right on your YouTube subscriptions and the whole entire nine. But all right, AJ, let's move into a little bit of recap and see what's good with the best photos of the weekend. And you see clearly, folks, we're going to describe it for the folks who are just listening. But as you can see on the screen, AJ, we didn't talk about PFL and the major matchup that took place this past week. Kayla Harrison, man, she got the job done. She beat Jenna Fabian. Beat is an understatement. I think mauling and destroying. As we can see with the statistics on the screen, it says that by the numbers, PFL's lightweight queen, you heard that right, lightweight, 155-pound queen, she landed 66 strikes on Fabian, 1 takedown, and absorbed 0 strikes. That is domination in its purest form. AJ, give me your take on this photo.
Oh man, it's the photo tells the entire story, Derick. Literally, that's what you want out of your fighter. You want to be able to piece people up and not get hit. And that's what the whole art form is about, man. And Kayla Harrison put it on a show.
Absolutely, absolutely. She put on not just an incredible outing, but just like a level of dominance that has yet to be seen, or was only seen in the Ronda Rousey days. And even then, she wasn't that dominant. Like she was, but not the way that Kayla Harrison is. Some would argue that she's fighting cans. Others would argue different, but that's neither here nor there. Now let's move on to some UFC action. This is going to be the first fight of the night in this next photo, AJ. And this is just a photo of Ramiz Brahimaj. He is a product of Fortis MMA, a Dallas, Texas product, a man who is going to play a larger factor in today's episode because, AJ, I have to say, his last fight against Max Griffin, he became known as the dude who got his ear chopped off by an elbow, right? And that is a tough, how would you say, just like a tough reputation to live down, you know what I'm saying? But did you know this, AJ? Ramiz Brahimaj because he got his ear damn near sliced off his head, had to go to the doctor, which they then revealed that there was a tumor behind his eyeball, which then put his fighting career in jeopardy. So he says, all praise to Allah, praise to the highest, praise to the sun, because if that didn't happen, I might not be here today, man. So it's crazy how things work out, and it's even crazier for him to lock up the rear naked choke, all 9 of his finishes by submission, and he got the job done against a very tough Sasha Palatnikov. Tell me about this photo and about what I just said, man. Like, this is an incredible picture. Am I right?
Oh man, it's a wild picture and an even crazier story, man. I'm always a big fan of everything happens for a reason, and behind every curse is a blessing. And man, to have your ear split open, that's a hell of an injury to take. And then they go in and say like, oh, you got a tumor behind your eye. Like, that's absolutely devastating. And to come back and just start choking people out, man, especially doing it in the style he did, man, it was a great fight. It was good to see. And then, yeah, like he said, after the story, I was kind of blown away when he said the whole thing about the tumor, man. But amazing photo, amazing fight. It was a good time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, AJ, I do have to say that if you are a woman fighter, you're fighting in the women's divisions and you're fighting at 135 pounds and your last name is Nunez, you probably got hands and you probably putting them on somebody, man. Josiane Nunez got the big knockout victory over Bea Malecki, and this was one of my sleepers, folks, so you're welcome. I think I delivered this time around, but I was trying to say, man, I was texting you and I was saying she's like a little mini female Mike Tyson, man, throwing the left hooks, that left hand like crazy. I just have to say this, AJ. Is it a coincidence that the last name is Nunez and they over there just sleeping people? Is that a coincidence? Tell me what you think.
I mean, I think it's either coincidence or it's like the Gracie family, man. It's just a Nunez family lineage going down. I don't even know if they're related, but they got the last surname. Yeah. And you're right, bro. She took the fight right out of her opponent. Literally the first shot that landed, you could see her opponent just literally like, oh no, I don't want to be here anymore. And it was man, hands of steel.
Absolutely. So this photo is the Josiane Nunez throwing the big left hand, just clipping Malecki on the chin, man. Her face is all morphed. You know, it's that picture perfect shot. The biggest thing that the story doesn't tell or that the photo doesn't tell is that Josiane Nunez was 5'2". She had a 7-inch height disadvantage against the 5'9" Bea Malecki, man. The Swede, Muay Thai Swede in Malecki. This was an incredible matchup, man. There was a lot of really good fights on the prelims, but let's move on to this next one. AJ, this next photo, I used to see this very regularly back in my WWE watching days when The Undertaker would just like throw somebody over his shoulder, walk to the other side of the ring and just like talk mess to the crowd or whatnot and then slam them on their head. Well, that is what Brian Boom Kelleher did to Piarte in this week's, what's his first name? Domingo? Dom? Something. I think
Domingo.
Yeah, there we go. Nonetheless, man, how often do you see something like this from a bantamweight, man? This is Boom Kelleher. I thought this dude was trying to take someone's lights out. He says, I'm throwing you over the shoulder. What you think about this one?
Hey, man, whether it's a hell of a right hand or slamming on the mat, either way, it's going to make a boom sound, man. And this is crazy to me. This is the worst, like, yeah, sure, you don't want to get somebody sitting on your face. You know, we always say that's the worst position. But there's nothing worse than getting toddlered, carried out like you a drunk chick at the bar, just throwing over your shoulder like, we going home, bro. Come on. And this is it was a good fight, though. I like this one.
That's hilarious because, yeah, you just sunned him. Just be like, all right, man, listen, I'm tired of your temper tantrum, man. Throw you over the shoulder. We out of here. We gone. You know what I'm saying? Big win for Brian Boom Kelleher, who also had the big call out of Sugar Sean O'Malley. He says, Sugar Sean, why you got 6'9" tatted on you? You need to go get a vagina tattooed on your ankle, man. Didn't really make sense to me, but maybe it was the heat of the moment. Nonetheless, it was a good call out. I like it. All right, man. This next photo here is important to me, AJ, just because rarely do you see two big boys, two 265-pounders this close, this personal, swinging and banging, throwing heat. And Parker Porter was on the good end of this exchange, man. Tell me what you think about this photo.
Man, this is a crazy one because you're right. Never do you see two big boys that close without getting the KO, but these boys were swinging some leather last night, man. It was wild. And you could just see how much it means to Parker Porter. He's screaming, or looks like he's screaming. He's, making a grimacing face as he's throwing it. Both people are connecting. Good. This is a close-up picture. This is a good one.
Absolutely, man. So I just have to say it is so surprising that you're going to see two big boys like this gassed out in the third round and still nobody got a finish, man. Crazy, man. All right, this next photo, AJ, this is Pantoja doing what I almost predicted was going to happen. This is basically what Brandon Moreno did to Brandon Royval in their last fight, minus the rear naked choke. But that body lock, the control, putting him on it. It was a crazy, crazy fight, especially something to open up the main card. But tell me what you think about this photo, AJ.
Man, it was this photo itself is amazing. You can see he has the body lock, and I honestly thought Brandon Royval was gonna look good in this one. He rolled to the correct side, he started doing all the right stuff, and then you just saw the arm go right underneath the chin, and got the win, man. And I do think it came down. A lot of the first round was sprawling and rolling around, so it might have been a tired factor. But, it looks like in this photo, he's on the chin, but definitely for the submission, he got under the neck. And all credit to Pantoja, man. It was a wild scrap.
Absolutely. And obviously, we'll talk about that much more in length and detail in just one moment. But all right, AJ, these last collection of photos, it's a two-piecer, right? Clearly, it's going to be the best photo of the night. That's why I saved it for the end. But this is almost legendary status here. So let's open it up. We got Ignacio Bahamondes with a picture-perfect spinning heel kick to the jaw of Roosevelt Roberts, man, with like 30 seconds left, 20 seconds left in the fight, something crazy like that in the third round. Roosevelt Roberts is this is almost like a Usman Masvidal-esque photo. This is literally in my top collection of the year, without a doubt. Tell me what you think about this photo right here, AJ.
Man, you want to talk about picture perfect, Derick. There are so many things right in this photo. Like, all right, just first off, roll with me, all right? You can see Roosevelt Roberts. He thought this kick was going to the body, and if it was, he would have blocked it. Yep, he has the elbow tucked perfectly. Even if it was going low, he's going to block it with the left hand. But sure enough, he gets caught in the chin. Wasn't expecting it. Chin gets moved. Second thing, talk about distance management. Mm-hmm. Look at Bahamaj. That's the correct name, right?
No, it's Bahamondes.
Bahamonde. My bad. But look at that distance management, man. He's an inch forward or an inch back. He's either clipping the back of his neck, no KO, or he's clipping him with the toes, same thing. And not only that, leg is fully extended. It's perfect. And watch his eyes, bro. His eyes are exactly where he wanted to hit. Beautiful KO. I don't think they could have taught it better, man. That was spectacular.
Absolutely. So you have somebody who is clearly, the man is going to get this framed and he's going to put it up in his house somewhere, right? But if you're Roosevelt Roberts, and no disrespect to the man, but this is the hurt business, this is the fight game, this is part of the game, right? You get put, just like in basketball, when you get put on a poster and somebody, puts it up in a house or whatever. What would you rather have? Somebody with that picture perfect spinning heel kick, or this one where Bahamondes is walking off knowing that he claimed victory and Roosevelt Roberts is stiff like a board on the floor, unconscious, detached from his consciousness? Which one would you rather have your opponent who did that to you framed up on the wall?
I'd rather have the spinning kick, man. It still looks like I'm taking, I'm still on my feet, which is a little bit more pride for me, man, where your hands are sprawled out, your back's on the ground. That's the worst way to get left, especially when the guy's walking away, giving the throat slice.
Absolutely, man. Listen, big win for Ignacio Bahamondes. If he wasn't on the map already, he's on the map now. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if this was one of my sleepers. It might not have been. Was it your sleeper?
No, man. I didn't know this fight was going to be banging, but there's a couple others.
Yeah. Maybe it didn't make the cut. That goes to show how good these prelims were. Because, it was Saldana versus Lingo. That was a banger, too. That could have been a fight of the night right there. But listen, enough said, man. That was definitely crazy right there, man. So let me get this one off of the board, and we can move on, AJ. Okay, AJ, so this next piece of business that we need to get to is the fighter of the night. This is a segment that we just started doing a couple weeks back, man, and we give you the fight of the night predictions on the pre-show. This time, this is something that stood out to you, a storyline, who had the greatest performance, a mixture of all of these intangibles all in one, and I would like you to start off, AJ, and if you take my fighter, it's okay, because I have a backup. So give me your fighter of the night, big dog.
Man, that's a good thing, Derick, because there was actually a couple fighters this week that you could choose from, man. There was a lot of good storylines, a lot of good fights going forward. But my fighter of the night is Parker Porter. All right. This dude came in, like we were all saying before, very unassuming. He looked like he was going to get steamrolled, kind of the bigger guy. Nobody really expected much from Parker Porter, but homeboy came to throw. And yeah, they might have gotten a little tired in the third round, but what I like most about Parker Porter in the first and the second, you could see him taking Chase Sherman's soul. Looked like Sherman did not want to be in there with him. And that's one of my favorite things, man. You take somebody's soul in there, like, oh, okay, I can just, like David Goggins said, once they start taking a step back, you can slow down a little bit. Parker Porter did that, man. He played his game. He looked good. And, man, he came in with a little bit better conditioning and did his thing, bro. I'd love to see it, especially because, like I said before, Parker Porter really came in really underassuming, underrated. Nobody really gave this dude any bit of credit, especially by the visuals. A lot of people were underestimating this man, and he came to play, brother. It was a great show. My fighter of the night is Parker Porter. What about you, Derick? Who's yours?
Well, first off, let me just make a comment on this one, man. What makes it even more incredible about Parker Porter's story is that not only did he take Chase Sherman's soul, we're a big fan of the man on this platform. All love for the Vanilla Gorilla. But Chase Sherman made a statement prior to the fight that made it even more embarrassing and more telling, where he says, "There's nothing that I love more than sleeping people and a nice pair of titties, and tonight I get to do both." And yeah, he ended up on the wrong end of that one, man. So the titties put you away, big dog. Didn't finish you, man, but they took the soul. But that's neither here nor there. Now, my fighter of the night is going to be the man that I mentioned earlier. It is Fortis MMA's Ramiz Brahimaj. And the reason why this is my fighter of the night is I already outlined a lot of the adversity that the man went through. He had the tumor behind the eye, the ear slice, all of that good stuff. But after he got his ear sliced off, even when he was having all of this, how would you say, there was a lot of mixed emotions and there was uncertainty in the air whether the man was going to be able to continue his MMA career. But did that deter him from staying in his teammates' cornering them, rooting for him like he was the one fighting, rooting for him like he was the coach, doing all of that stuff while he never knew if he was going to step back into the octagon, goes back into the octagon, literally dismantles Sasha Palatnikov. And folks, if you don't know who this man is, like the way that Impa Kasanganay in his last fight fought Palatnikov, that was kind of impressive. That was Impa doing his thing. Brahimaj came in there, smashed him, took his back, took his neck, put him to sleep. Literally had him gurgling, snoring, unconscious, right? What does he do? He gets up, he stares at the camera, mean like Dorino, Gilbert Burns stares into the camera talking about like, you know, all praise be to Allah, shout out Mike Tyson, you know what I'm saying? There was something visceral about that. It made me feel it on a visceral level. It made me feel it on a primal level where I'm like, this man and all of the adversity that he went through, he finally got the big win. And what does he do in his post-fight presser, AJ? Does he say, hey, I'm going to call out all these people, y'all suck, y'all chumps, I'm here to take over? No, he says, I want to go build a well for some people who need it more than I do, man. All these people need so much more. I really don't need this. I want to give. I don't want to take. I want to give. And for that reason, Ramiz Brahimaj is my fighter of the night. The man is a class act, and it goes deeper than fighting, clearly, folks. He's being the change that he wants to see in the world, and that's part of the job, not only as a professional athlete, but as someone who has a platform who can make a difference. So I know that went off of the regular MMA tangent, and that got a little bit deeper and a little bit more personal for me, folks, but that's what makes a fighter of the night in my book. Shout out to you. If you are watching this, Ramiz Brahimaj, you are a stand-up guy, man. All love, shout out to you, man. So now we can take a step back in terms of the temperament and whatnot, but I had to get that out there, you know what I'm saying? Let me just ask you real fast before we move on to the actual recap, AJ. Is there something about a fighter to you? Like, obviously, we like fighters simply as fighters. We're fans of the sport, all that good stuff, but do you feel that there is that additional responsibility for these fighters to make change when possible?
Oh, 100%, Derick. I mean, that's the goal, I think, not of just every fighter, but every human being, man. If you're not leaving this place better than you found it, what's the point? And the fact that you have a mic and you're spouting information to hundreds of thousands of people watching, and that's what you say, you know, I want to build a well for other people, man, like all credit to him, because a lot of us are very selfish. A lot of us are literally thinking about me, where he's thinking about everyone else, bro. That was, like you said, Derick, I felt that on a visceral level as well. And the fact that he had the presence of mind to actually say that stuff, and it shows what he truly wants. And it's not just some clout chase or not something like that, bro. That is the definition of a great human being, not just a great fighter. And I think as the fight, you know, after the fight, your adrenaline's pumping, your emotions are feeling that way. And the fact that he's able to, you know, calm down and really say what he wants, man, absolutely beautiful. I love that. I love that in him.
Agreed, man. But listen, man, you know, shout out to him. We gave him a couple of minutes. Now let's move on to some recap, big dog. All right, folks, drop a like, subscribe, all of the good stuff. You already know what time it is, man. BloodyWaterPodcast.com. Hit us up on Instagram at BloodyWaterPodcast and on Twitter at BloodyWaterPod. Now, with that being said, let's talk about this, man. Number 3, Alexandre Pantoja gets I put unanimous decision. Sorry, folks, wasn't a unanimous decision. This was a submission victory against Brandon Royval. And listen, man, it was nice, man. This was second round, and this is what made it so great to me, is that it was unexpected in the sense that I thought that Pantoja was getting tired, man. It looked like Royval was coming on. It looked like he was doing all of the things he needed to do to make the fight his fight. But Pantoja, there's one thing about the man. is he sticks to the basics. He sticks to the fundamentals, and fundamentals win championships, man. Shout out to Tim Duncan, the big fundamental. Tell me what you thought overall on this matchup, AJ, on this fight. Like, I know you said earlier that Brandon Royval, he probably maybe was a little tired, things of that nature, man, but I thought he looked great for coming off of a shoulder injury. What do you think?
Bro, he was looking amazing. Like he was sprawling, he was rolling. Pantoja didn't look like he was able to get a grasp, and Pantoja came out hot and heavy in the first, bro. Like he literally opened up the fight with some fire in him, and he started to look like he was wavering a little bit towards the end. The end of round one, I really started to think Brandon Royval was kind of getting the best of him. But man, yeah, you like you said, Pantoja stuck to the fundamentals. He got the body lock. He got the arm in under the chin. You could even tell. I first off, I didn't expect any of that at all. I thought Brandon Royval was going to keep with the sprawls, keep rolling. I thought he was looking good, but you could tell Brandon Royval was a little upset in himself that he tapped. Man, he tapped out, and then I'm like, fuck, I really just did that. Like it was a hard one to watch, especially for the Royval fan like me. But man, Pantoja put in some absolute work. Like I said, I didn't expect this at all. I expected Brandon Royval. He looked like he was doing better, man. I expected it to come back better in the second round, keep the sprawls rolling, keep the transitions going. But all credit to Pantoja, man. He stuck to his game plan and he stayed true. And like you said, that's what wins championships, man. He put up a good show and a hell of a submission on a dude who's known for his submissions too.
Yeah, that is the most impressive part about it, man, is when you're known for the submissions, when you're known for the rolling and the scrambling, and to submit the man, it's just like, man, this is how Brandon Royval made his mark in the UFC. You submit Tim Elliott, you come in, you submit Kai Kara-France, you're an LFA champ, all that good stuff. But Pantoja's been in the game for a really long time, you know what I'm saying? And that's why it's important for me to assess this and be like, listen, man, we got to give the man some credit. I feel like he just still is under-respected, even with this win and the gentlest, nicest call-out you've seen in your life, where he says, hey, Moreno, I really like you, man. It's all good, but a 30-26, I got you good. I made you a little bit better, you know what I'm saying? And Moreno sitting there like... It's funny, man. It's funny and it's comical and all that. But once they get into the cage, they turn it on, both of them. You know what I'm saying? And I just have it right here in front of me. I wanted to look it up. So when we're looking at the significant strikes, man, Pantoja outstruck Royval by a very slight edge, 22-17. And then when we're looking at takedowns, 3 takedowns from Pantoja, 1 by Brandon Royval. Is that expected to you? Did you expect Pantoja to initiate the takedown sequences as much as he did?
No, not at all, my man. Like I said, I expected Brandon Royval to be the one looking for the takedowns, looking for that stuff. And I was honestly expecting Pantoja to be put on his back foot. Wasn't that way at all, man. It was a very unexpected fight, at least coming from my side. Did you expect him to be the one doing the takedowns and all that stuff?
Well, you remember, as I was saying on the preview show, man, that his control, like I said, they have different ways they go about the BJJ, right? For Royval, he has better scrambles. For Pantoja, I thought he had better just control. And that's what I wanted to comment on. So, like, to answer your question, I thought he would try to control. I didn't think he would really sit there and try to be like, all right, we're going to make this a grappling jiu-jitsu match or whatever. But let me just ask you this, man, because sometimes it's overrated, but we'll tell you one person who benefited from it a lot recently, Vinc Pichel, when we'll talk about that in a second, but he's been hitting the weight room. And he's like a 40-year-old man. He says this is the first time in his career he started actually really lifting weights. Do you think that played into a factor there? I just felt like Royval didn't have just the physicality, the strength to be like, get off me. Sometimes you got to use your technical capabilities, but sometimes you could just get off me. You know what I'm saying? Like, tell me what you think. Do you think that he needs to start hitting the weight room or what?
Oh, 100%, Derick, because when both people know the technique, it cancels each other out. Sure, you might be able to be Mr. Technician and be able to get that down, but when the other guy knows exactly what you're doing and he feels your body go to this and he goes, oh, no, I know what you're doing. I'm just going to flip it this way. I'm going to roll the opposite. I'm going to do, all the stuff that I'm supposed to do because it's technique. It's basically like being written down in a book. That's when the strength comes into play. And you saw it in Brandon Royval. He did put, once the body lock was on him, he rolled to the correct side. But Pantoja's like, nah, bro, I ain't letting this happen. Like, I know exactly what you're trying to do. I'm just going to choke you out now. Yeah, I definitely think Brandon Royval, he needs to hit the weight room, or at least he needs another advantage and not just to rely strictly on technique, because at this high of a level, everybody knows the technique and everybody knows exactly what to do. So he needs that extra little bit of advantage going forward, man. What do you think?
No, I'm absolutely with you. And I do think that Pantoja's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like pound for pound up there in the flyweight division. Like, I really think the dude is a monster, man. But my last question to you comes down to this, man. We know Pantoja, clearly he's probably going to get a title shot after here. That's what Dana White said. And we need to talk about, we'll talk about it more in the matchmaking and whatnot. But Askar Askarov is probably the person who really deserves the title shot. However, he missed weight in his last fight. And I think that you need to penalize fighters for missing weight. You can't miss weight, win a fight, and then get a title shot after. I feel like that's just not right. Pantoja made weight. He got the job done. He already has 2 wins over Moreno. He probably should be next in line for that championship, even though I do think it's a little unfair to Figueiredo. But nonetheless, my question to you is this. We know Pantoja's stock is going up. Do you think Royval, with such a valiant effort that he put on, that his stock is even decreasing at all? Should he stay at number 6? Is it going to get dropped down a little bit? What do you think about that?
Nah, I think he stays at number 6. I mean, it definitely did drop, at least in my mind, a little bit, you know, especially going the game plan we all thought he had. We thought he had the scrambles, and yeah, the scrambles were amazing in round 1, but then they absolutely disappeared in round 2. So in my mind, the stock did get hit a little bit. I wouldn't drop him anywhere past, you know, the top 10, even if he does lose a little bit. I think he stays there, though. But Pantoja, I think this one goes more towards the credit to Pantoja than the discredit to Brandon Royval, and it really put Pantoja on that map for how real deal of a fighter this dude is, and how dirty and how like you said, like a technician this man is, man. More credit to Pantoja than the takeaway from Brandon Royval on my side.
Yeah, you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense. And I will say this. Look at the 4 opponents that Brandon Royval has had to face in his UFC, the start of his UFC career. You start off with Tim Elliott, submit him. Kai Kara France, submit him. Fight the champion now, Brandon Moreno, right? Before he was the champion. You dislocate your shoulder throwing a hammer fist. You didn't really lose that fight. Technically you did, but because it's the fight game, but you didn't really lose it. And then you fight Alexandre Pantoja. Like, that is a killer's row of fighters. So, like, to disrespect the man and to say, oh, you suck, X, Y, and Z, yada, yada, yada. It's not true. It's just literally not true. It's, you know, it's the people, like, you know, when they do the meme where the people sitting back in their chair with the remote and all the food around, and they be like, bro, I would have just, like, you know what I mean? I would have hit a Granby roll and I would have spinning heel kicked him and what, you know what I'm saying? Cats like that, man. You know, listen, we all can be keyboard warriors from time to time or whatnot, man. But listen, you got to give all respect to these dudes who are getting out there and putting it all on the line in the cage, man. But big win for Alexandre Pantoja. We'll talk matchmaking in a moment. Now, Vinc from hell, Pichel, he gets the unanimous decision victory over Austin Hubbard. Some people didn't quite agree with that. However, man, I think that this was a very back and forth contest. I think Hubbard came very close, man, but he continues his streak since 2018 of win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. He got the win over Dakota Bush, lost to Vinc Pichel. Where do you think the advantages took place for Vinc Pichel here, man? Because I have one key area where I think that this is what won him the fight, but I'm curious to know what your take. What do you think won Vinc Pichel this fight?
Man, his mentality, brother. His mentality, I think, is what won him. He went in there. First off, I gotta respect Vinc Pichel, man. Homeboy came out to Highway to Hell by AC/DC, and I knew instantly. I was like, damn, like that's the sign. That's the kind of shit I would come out to, bro. So I was like, fuck, we might lose this fight. Like, I'm going for Hubbard, but we might lose this fight now. Shit. But no, I think it was definitely Vinc Pichel's mentality, brother. He came out and it started to look real close in the first. But then in the second and the third, he really started to run away with it. And you could tell those shots weren't hurting him. He was letting Austin Hubbard, you know, come forward, but he was cracking back. And I think the way that he went out, you know, really kept bombs in his hands, throwing for the whole way. And Vinc Pichel, he dug deep and got, you know, just to get in that top position. Anytime Austin Hubbard would get a takedown, he would really focus on getting the top position and making the best of every situation that came forward. And that's what I think what really won him the fight, man. I like I said, I had Hubbard going for it. I was hoping Hubbard was going to win, but I do think Vinc Pichel earned this one, and it was a scrap, bro. I had this one as potential fight of the night, and it was a lot of fun, man. It was crazy to see. What was your big X factor, your takeaway from him?
So the mentality definitely played a factor, of course. Don't get me wrong. The footwork of Vinc Pichel was on point all night long. I was watching it and I was just like, you know what, man? I saw Roosevelt Roberts get backed up into the cage a bunch prior to him getting knocked out, right? Where he just hit in the back of the cage time and time and time again. Bahamondes was just pushing him back, right? Hubbard tried that for Vinc Pichel, but Vinc Pichel just moved in a circle, foot in the tire all night long. And I was like, that's what's evading these shots, is he's able to move out laterally as opposed to backwards, because every time Hubbard loads up these big bombs, Vinc Pichel, slip, move out the way, rinse, wash, repeat, time and time and time again, man. So it's like the mixture of him having a good rapport with Mark Montoya over there at Factory X Muay Thai over there in Colorado, right? The mixture of the new camp, being there with legit strikers, actually having real training partners and all that, along with the footwork, along with the IQ, along with the experience, and then the mentality on top of it. How could Vinc Pichel have lost this fight? You know what I'm saying? And I told y'all, I was like, the odds confused me, you know what I mean? Because he was a slight underdog in this fight, man. And sometimes that's what I'm talking about. Like, no disrespect to Austin Thud Hubbard, man. The dude is a savage, but Vinc Pichel's been in the game for a really long time. So, huge win for Vinc Pichel. Do you got anything else on this matchup, AJ?
Yeah, on that note, Derick, the fact that he was able to keep that footwork up when these boys were throwing some heat to the legs, those leg kicks were absolutely insane. They made a note of it in the on the commentary where they were saying, the reason we're not hearing any of these leg kicks smack is because they're digging into the muscle and into the bone, and that's the ones that really hurt you, man. I don't know if you've ever taken a leg kick where you feel like, the Charlie horse feeling where you're like, oh shit, I can't move. That's what these dudes are hitting each other with, baseball bats to the leg. And like you said, man, Vinc Pichel just kept that movement up. He kept rolling laterally. He kept doing all the stuff. He didn't even look like it was affecting him. All credit to Vinc Pichel and Austin Hubbard because they were both smacking each other with some baseball bats, bro. This was a fun one to watch, man.
Absolutely. And I guess I just have one last thing on here, and I just wanted to ask, this isn't even really related to this fight, so I'll take it off, but I want to know do you think this actually happens where, you have a coach in their fighter's corner, they're the A side or they're the B side, so they walk out first, they're waiting for the A side to come in, the red corner to come in, and they hear the walkout song and they instantly have doubt in their head and they're like, God damn it, we're going to lose this fight. Like, do you think that actually happens? Because I feel like it could. It totally could.
I think it could. I definitely think it could. And I would imagine, like, if you're an AC/DC fan, he comes out and you're sitting there like kind of jamming to wait, and you're like, fuck, I should have chose that song. Like, damn, rocking. Now, there's a couple times in the walkout music room, like, damn, that's a way better song. And I could see the mental games playing, man. I don't know.
That's part of the mental warfare, man. Got to be cerebral out here. But a huge win for Vinc from Pichel on that one. Now, probably the biggest upset on the card, the biggest, I just didn't see this coming, man. And I need to ask you, listen, actually, before I ask you anything, huge win for Saidyokub Kakhramonov, man. This dude is a fucking savage. He came game, and my theory that I had on the pre-show where this is his UFC debut, this is his championship fight, he's coming and he's leaving it all out there, and that's absolutely what he did, man. Whether it went to the judges or he got the finish, but it was his fight either way, man. I need to ask you, do you think Trevin Jones, did he not show up, or what happened? I've never seen Trevin Jones fight like that, man. Like, he looked tired off the bat in the first round. He looked tired, and it never really progressed from there, man. Like, it just went all downhill from there. He did have to stay on weight over the past month. This is the lowest he's ever kept his weight. He admitted that. He's had multiple opponents fall out. What do you think happened?
I mean, I think you sent it when the fight was going on that he might have been tired from the weight cuts. I definitely think that played into a factor, man. You don't have the necessary nutrients your body needs to keep that energy up. It's going to be rough. And not only that, man, Kakhramonov in the first round absolutely surprised Jones, man. He caught him. I forgot if it was a left or a right. I forgot the actual hit that happened, but you can see Trevin Jones's eyes like, oh shit, this is a fight. Like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. I definitely think Jones went in there expecting to maul this dude that's coming in off of a short notice replacement fight. But man, he was absolutely surprised. And dude, all respect to Kakhramonov because he was absolutely grinding it out. The fact that he was able to take Jones's soul, and then every time Jones would press him up against the cage, he would just kind of roll with it. He would stay there. The pressure was there for Jones, but it wasn't the same type of fighter, man. Kakhramonov looked really, really good, especially after that first round. He gave it all he had for that guillotine. And I think it was right before that guillotine attempt that lasted maybe a minute and a half that he hurt. Kakhramonov hurt Trevin Jones, and that's why Trevin shot in, and Kakhramonov was able to get that guillotine attempt. I thought he was going to burn his arms out. I thought, okay, it's going to be this one shot, and then it's going to be 5-star show after that. But no, man, Kakhramonov looked really, really good, and he stayed strong all the way until the end, until literally putting homie to sleep, man. It was good. It was a crazy one. Did you expect any of that to come out to play?
No, man. Here's the thing. I thought that Jones had the grappling edge because, yes, Kakhramonov is a BJJ brown belt. He is a legit grappler, but Trevin Jones is a 7-time no-gi world champion in jiu-jitsu, man. Like, his jiu-jitsu is really legit. Like I said, these are the little X factors that I'll be talking about, whether it was Chase Sherman when he fought Andrei Arlovsky, where he's like, yeah, I tore up my knee 5 minutes before walking out, or whether it's this one where, like, maybe Jones is like, bro, I'm really not feeling it. He had to go out there. He had to fight regardless. These are the things that as fans, we don't know these things, right? So when he comes out flat and you're just like, this ain't the Trevin Jones that beat Timur Valiev, man. Like, that's not the same Trevin Jones. That's not the Trevin Jones that beat Mario Batista. Like, this is a different guy, you know what I'm saying? Regardless, man, you cannot discredit what Kakhramonov brought to the table, especially because the volume. That's the other thing I said, right? I was like, he could win simply on volume because he'll throw. He'll throw and throw and throw and throw, and it does not matter. But I'll tell you what, the power was impressive, the grappling was impressive, the control was impressive, and the fight IQ and the maturity was very, very impressive overall, man. So I do have to say, I now want to see Kakhramonov fight a top 45 bantamweight because... and on a full training camp, because this was on 4 days' notice. That's even more impressive. This was on 4 days' notice, bro. So tough for Trevin Jones because having to switch, so many different styles of fighters that you're fighting against, as opposed to Kakhramonov saying, I mean, like this is what Angela Hill says. She's like, I would rather take a fight on a week's notice because you don't have all of the anticipation, the anxiety, all that. You just go in there, you perform, you get out. It's simple. You know what I'm saying? What would you prefer, AJ? If I said, hey, I call you up, hey, I got a big opportunity for you. You generally stay in shape all year round, like in fighting shape all year round. Let's just say I got to fight for you in 8 days, as opposed to like, hey man, we're gonna give you 8 weeks. You know what I'm saying? What would you rather take?
I'd rather take the 8 days, brother. I think the worst part about it is the mental stress, and you're going to sleep every night thinking, like, I don't know if a lot of people out there. I'm sure everybody's dealt with a bully where you think, like, man, I'm gonna have to deal with this dude every single day. Like, fuck, I'm gonna wake up. I know he's gonna be there, third period, just waiting for me. I'm gonna have to deal with this dude. Now imagine that for 8 weeks where you're actually getting locked in the cage and nobody there to save you, nothing like that. You gotta, stand and bang with this dude. Yeah, I'd rather take the 8 days notice where it's like, hey, call me up. Oh shit, all I gotta worry about is making weight, and then I throw some hands. Cool, I'm in. Like, all right, cool, I'm with it.
Yeah.
What would you rather take, Derick?
I agree with you. I honestly, you know what? I agree with the sentiment, but give me the 8 weeks so I could just go and I could put myself in torture, take myself through torture on the Aerodyne bike, you know what I'm saying? Get myself in the most absolutely jacked of shape so at least I can go in there feeling good with the physique. I know my cardio won't fail me. If I'm taking the approach, I want the Clay Guida approach where I'm going to have all the cardio. I'm going to kill you with cardio. Hit me a bunch of times, even if that's what it takes. I'm going to kill you with cardio because cardio makes a coward out of all men. But regardless, big win for Kakhramonov, man. Big win in the bantamweight division. Now, your fighter of the night, AJ Parker Porter, he got the unanimous decision win in a clinic against Chase Sherman, man. A clinic. And I hate saying that because I'm a big fan of Chase Sherman. But Parker Porter, he made me a really big fan today as well. He's been doing it on the New England regional scene for a long, long time, bro. But now he's 2-1 in the UFC. I thought that this fight was going to play out closer to how his fight against Chris Daukaus played out. However, clearly, Daukaus is a different animal, man. He got different level power. Because Chase Sherman, it seemed like he was just tagging Porter up, but it was just bouncing off of him, deflecting off of him. I have the numbers in front of me, and Parker Porter outlanded, in terms of significant strikes, he outlanded Chase Sherman 149 to 117, and a lot of that probably came in that third round. But I do have to say that for Parker Porter, it was crazy to me to see him be the fresher fighter in the third round, to throw more punches and bunches, have better head movement, have more stamina, more cardio. That completely shocked me. Did that shock you?
That was crazy, man. Like you were saying, Chase Sherman said before, where he's like, he got them titties. Those titties had some cardio in them, man. Those things kept a couple extra carbs in there, so he had that energy to the third round. Because homeboy, Chase Sherman, he started to look tired in the second, and then you can see Parker Porter also started to look a little weathered down. But man, the fact that Parker Porter was the fresher fighter going into the third absolutely blew me away. And I think, like I was saying before, it could have just been all visuals. Visually, Parker Porter looks like I'm not expecting this dude to make it to the third round. Homeboy was bouncing on his feet in the third round, looking good, throwing punches and bunches and landing combos. It was crazy. Absolutely blew me away. I did not expect this one to come. What do you think, Derick? Did you really see, did you think he was going to make it out of the second even?
No, because I predicted Chase Sherman KO second round. I thought he was just going to put it on him, Chris Daukaus style, get him out of there, punches and bunches. Parker Porter would just fall down, and that would be it. But what's crazy is I'm going to read you the per round punch stats between both of these fighters. So Chase Sherman, clearly cardio was an issue. First round, 21 of 59 strikes, right? Cool. Opened it up. Nice. Second round, 51 of 102. So he really went for it in the second round. Third round, 37 of 88. Now, so he actually shot way down. Like that cardio, that took it out of him. For Parker Porter, we have 29 of 59 in round 1. In round 2, 51 of 102. And in round 3, he had 21 in round 1, 57 in round 2, and 71 in round 3. So he built up as the fight got better. And in a heavyweight fight, you rarely ever see that. That's something you see in a bantamweight fight, in a lightweight fight. But Parker Porter, man, I said it. Don't let the physique fool you. The man is an athlete, you know what I'm saying? And I gotta love, man, because he came into this fight very respectful. Chase Sherman, he was kind of trying to, build the fight up a little bit, talk a little bit of crap and all that. And Parker Porter on his back, I don't know if you saw this, but he has it tattooed. He says, "Respect all, fear none." And I'm like, you know what, man? I like that because that's a martial artist way of life, man. He really went about this saying, like, no disrespect to Chase Sherman, but like we're all chasing the bonus. We're all trying to, go out there and win. And in the end, he was all like, listen, man, it was a shame that we got tired so we couldn't dance, but come round 3, I just had the better head movement, and, like, that's what it takes. So this is a man who's confident in his capabilities and his skills, and I think that he can make a run. Get matched up against the right opponents. The man can make a run for sure. But you got anything else on this one, AJ?
And also, I wanted to credit Parker Porter for walking through those leg kicks, man.
Oh, yeah.
Chase Sherman was throwing some heat to the leg kicks, and like you said, he stayed fresh for the rest of the fight. I wasn't mad with the decision. I like this one going forward, and yeah, man, it was cool to see, man.
Yeah, not only did Parker Porter eat those leg kicks, but man, he was giving them to Sherman too, man. And Parker Porter got those tree trunks for thighs, man. So I think all leg kicks, are not created equal. But all right, let's move on to this co-main, AJ. Marco Madsen, he gets the split decision victory against the Carpenter Clay Guida. Listen, man, this was a fight that played out not nearly the way that I expected. I said over under Mark Madsen just slams Guida on his head in the first round. Didn't happen. There was one takedown attempt between both of these fighters. And listen, there was no takedowns. There was no wrestling. There was zero wrestling in this match that was promoted as who made the best wrestler win or something like that, right? I want to ask you, is it more of a tribute? Who gets more of credit in terms of the wrestling? Clay Guida in terms of being so slippery and so agile, Madsen couldn't even get his hands on him? Or Madsen, because Clay Guida, a great wrestler in and of himself, the takedown leader at 155 pounds currently, couldn't even come close to anything resembling a takedown on Madsen. What do you think?
I have to give more credit to Clay Guida on this one because Madsen was able to pressure him up against a cage a couple of times, and in the Greco-Roman style, that's what he wants. All he needs is to get his hands above the hips, and he can throw you, he can slam you, that stuff, but not against Carpenter, brother. I don't know if it was a sweat thing, and there was a couple times with Clay Guida, he had the hair up, and Marco Madsen was able to get a couple Muay Thai grasps on that thing, man. So I thought, I was like, oh, the hair is going to be like the grit that he needs, but nah, man. Clay stayed slick, he stayed smooth. I give more credit to Clay Guida on this one. Like I said, this was the one pick of the fight that I got correct. I've been having a rough couple weeks, but I was a little upset at this one because I feel like the judges kind of gave it one way or the other, man. And I don't know. This could be a conversation for another time, but it's weird how sometimes the pressure is what wins the fights, like with the TJ Dillashaw and the damage, doesn't really come into play. And there's a couple other fights the same way. Whereas, there's just some incongruities with this one, but that's neither here nor there. I give more credit to Clay Guida on this one for not being able to be slammed because Marco Madsen literally slams everyone. What do you think? Who gets more credit in your book there?
I'd agree because, yeah, Clay Guida at a prime age of 39 years old, man, this dude is slippery, man. He's like a fish, It's hard to grab onto that dude, And Mark Madsen said he was all like, I'm going to walk forward, I'm going to grab him, I'm going to grip him with all of my strength, and I'm going to, do the do. So shout out to that American wrestling, but this was really just a stalemate. And sometimes you do see that. Two really good jiu-jitsu dudes end up getting into a kickboxing match because their jiu-jitsu cancels out, you know what I mean? That's kind of what I expected a little bit in the Pantoja versus Royval, but we really saw this in its true form in this wrestling match. But if it makes you feel any better, I pulled up the numbers, and it looks like Mark Madsen, he outstruck Clay Guida 98-72. And when I was telling you about Clay Guida, who was swinging a lot and missing a lot, he significant strike 72 of 212. So he was throwing at a 33% clip, while Mark Madsen was 98 of 192 at a 51% clip. So you could throw a bunch, man, but if you missing, it ain't really helping anybody in the conversation. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It was a big win for Marco Madsen. He calls out Gregor Gillespie after. We'll talk matchmaking in a second, but huge win for the what do you call him? The Danishman, I don't know if they got like, because he'd be like a Swedish, like a Swede, the Frenchman.
The Dane?
The Dane, maybe. I don't know. Shout out to the Greco-Roman silver Olympic medalist, Mark O. Madsen. Shout out to that, man. And main event, man, the Killer Gorilla, Jared Cannonier. He gets the unanimous decision victory against the ageless, the timeless wonder, Kelvin Gastelum, who actually tweeted after, he says, I think I won the fight. It was close on the global scorecard for verdict. It definitely was close. But this is Kelvin Gastelum just doing the Kelvin Gastelum, man. He's a tough outing for anybody, but Jared Cannonier was just a little more active. You know what I mean? He did outstrike Gastelum, I think, or maybe Gastelum. Actually, Gastelum outstruck Cannonier, but Cannonier landed the harder shots, in my opinion. He dropped Gastelum, too, which definitely plays into a factor, man. So I got to ask you this, AJ. Where do we go with Kelvin Gastelum? Before we talk about the Killer Gorilla and how impressive his victory was, where do we go with the man? He was 1-5. Now he's what? 0-5 or 1? He's basically, this is a very rough outing, man. You know what I'm saying? This is a very rough stretch of fights. Where do we go with Kelvin Gastelum?
I think he stays a gatekeeper. I think he stays, top 10. I don't think he loses. He might lose one position, but I still think he's a top 10 fighter. He arguably, like you said, he led the strike count, and arguably he had the more pressure of the fighters. This is actually one of the fights I was alluding to in my last comment, where I said that the judging seems to be a little incongruent, whether, the pressure of Kelvin Gastelum maintaining a foot, on the gas pedal that whole time and being the one that's bouncing around, dipping and dodging, putting the pressure on the Killer Gorilla, or should the points go to Jared Cannonier because he's actually able to do some damage. He's actually able to put Kelvin Gastelum on his butt, but then Kelvin Gastelum just stands up like that, man. Literally instantly, once his butt hits the canvas, he gets back up. Very impressive either way. I was a little hurt on this one as well, because another thing with the big, another thing I wanted to bring up with the big, rounds of scoring is, even when I was writing it down on my own, I'm probably being a little biased because I wanted Cannonier to win. I think that kind of comes into play with the verdict as well. A lot of people just not really watching the fight, but more so just, I want this guy to win. I'm going to vote for him. It could be into that. So we don't even know with the verdict. And I think that's a big flaw that comes into play too. But I was, the way the fight played out, it was definitely a Kelvin Gastelum style of fight, all pressure. He's an absolute pressure machine, especially with Henry Cejudo, the camp out there they got going. It looked good for wrestling, but he just wasn't able to do enough damage to actually make it effective in my book. Anyway, yeah. What do you think, Derick?
No, I'm with you. Real quick, I wanted to pull up the verdict since you brought that up, right? And I do think that does happen where some people will just be like biased. Oh, I just want this person to win, so I'm going to plug it in. But because that's the whole point of the global scorecard, though, is that you have so many people putting it in that it kind of cancels out and averages out across the masses, right? So they had it I have it right here. Unanimous decision for Cannonier, 48-47 was the judge's decision. All three judges scored it that way. On the verdict, Jared Cannonier won 47.67 to 47.39 for Kelvin Gastelum. So it was razor thin, right? And they have Cannonier winning the round 3 and round 4. Is that it? How does he win?
Yeah,
I don't even know. How does he win if that's the case? I don't know. But basically, yeah, that's how they have it. They have Gastelum winning rounds 1, 2, and round 5. So if that's any consolation, this was much closer than the scorecard appeared. What's that?
Well, I think it came down to the fact I was actually I was reading how verdict has like their points given out. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot more people are starting to score for these fights as like 10-8s and stuff, because the 10-7 they have on theirs, at least. You can say like how to score the bouts on their little options page. But that's the one they say that rarely ever happens, where it's more so a 10-8 rarely ever happens. So I think a lot of these verdict fans are really given a little bit more points one way or the other, because I don't you could tell me the actual point breakdown, but I think the first round was razor close, and then it started to really get more of a gap, and then rounds 3 and 4 were an even bigger gap for Jared Cannonier, where then round 5 was also a little bit closer. So that's how he was able to actually outscore Kelvin Gastelum, and not necessarily like we're thinking in our minds 10-9, 10-9, the whole way down. Whereas if that was a case where Kelvin Gastelum won 3 of them, then you would think, he has the obvious advantage. He won this one. So I think their point system, don't get me wrong, like I said, it's good, and I think it's a good idea to have the global scorecard going forward. especially because a lot of biases do come into play. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think this one, it was a hard one. It was a hard pill to swallow, but I do think Jared Cannonier did enough to get the dub, at least if you're thinking of a damage perspective going forward. What do you think, Derick?
Well, I'm with you, and I will say, the old verbiage or whatever you want to call it, numbers never lie, right? They don't quite tell the full story, but the numbers never really lie. So if it's any consolation, once again, so this goes to show that like maybe you should have probably did better in your picks, man. Maybe some of these judges' decisions kind of went, made things go awry. But Kelvin Gastelum actually outlanded Jared Cannonier in rounds 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 4. Yeah, 1, 2, and 4, right? So he outlanded him 3 out of the 5 rounds, man. So it's just tough, man. It's tough when you have these close decisions, especially when you got these big middleweights going at it. And when you're at the top of the heap, like the Kelvin Gastelums, the Jared Cannoniers, man, it's like, what are you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Well, what are we gonna do here? Nonetheless, this is a huge win for the Killer Gorilla, man. He looked sharp. He dropped Kelvin Gastelum, and it looked like he earned some of that respect. There was one point in the fight where I thought he was about to finish Gastelum, and I was like, wow, that would literally be the first time. However, Cannonier, clearly one of the things that I think the man needs to work on is just the cardio, man. It looked like he was really slowing down, and he put his arms over the cage, and that's the sign of like, oh, I'm tired, man. That was like after round 1. And I was just like, yo, like, hold on, bro. Like, I mean, adrenaline dump, I'm not sure what's going on. I will say those leg kicks are nasty, bro. Those leg kicks that Cannonier throws are really, really nasty. But regardless, Cannonier, he moves on from the loss from Robert Whittaker. He moves to 14-5, and he says he either wants a contender or he wants a title shot. I don't think you're getting a title shot. I know that he was supposed to be in that mix, man, but we'll talk matchmaking in just 1 second. That's the next section that we have here. So you got anything else on this huge middleweight matchup?
Huge middleweight matchup, man. It was a good it seemed like leg kicks for the name of the game. And also the fact that Jared Cannonier, the sweat that was coming off of that man at the end of his when he's talking to DC, that showed how much he actually put into the fight, man. So much respect to the Killer Gorilla.
Yeah, man. I do have to say I love the promo, too, because he was like, yeah, man, I kill myself in the morning, an hour on the Aerodyne bike. I go work for 10 hours, and then I go to the gym for 5 hours, rinse, wash, repeat. And I'm just like, that was his process from going to heavyweight down to middleweight, you know what I mean? And dude is sharp in middleweight, man. He's now, I think he's like 5-1 or 4-1 or something like that middleweight. So he's killing the game. And I will have to say, folks, if you are, wagering fans, which you are clearly because you're watching this program, I got a big prop on Jared Cannonier. I got it at plus 550 Cannonier to win by decision, man. It was like it was almost too easy, man. So listen, y'all gotta get on the game. You know what I'm saying? Hit up the bookie. You already know what time it is. You know what I'm saying? But all right, folks, let's move on to some matchmaking. AJ here. Let me pull this down, and here we go. But before we actually matchmake and whatnot, drop a like, subscribe. Come on, you know what I'm going to say. You already know what time it is. Here we go, But listen, AJ, we got to do a little bit of matchmaking here, and I want to ask you, we're going to start off from top to bottom, right? The middleweights, lightweights, bantamweights, all that. Jared Cannonier, there's only a couple places you can go on this one, and I think that he needs to fight the winner of Marvin Vettori and Paulo Costa on October 23rd, because when we were going back and forth and we were saying like, oh, wasn't this a short notice replacement for Gastelum? He wasn't replacing Darren Till. He was replacing Paulo Costa. Yeah.
So okay. Yeah.
This fight needs to take place. What do you think?
I like that. I like that a lot. I know the champ was wanting to fight Cannonier, but I don't really think that's a good fight going up. I know Cannonier had the loss against Bobby Knuckles. He might want to redeem that, but I think the best fight possibly going forward, you're right, the winner of Paulo Costa, Marvin Vettori. Or, I mean, I definitely think that one's going to be an interesting scrap. I don't know who's going to win that one yet, Paulo Costa, Marvin Vettori, but I would like to see Jared Cannonier beat up Paulo Costa for sure.
Who's to even say? Like, I know we give a lot of flack to Paulo Costa because of the wine and all that good stuff, you know what I mean? But the dude is a killer, honestly. Like, Israel Adesanya was able to embarrass him, but aside from that, he's basically starting everybody else, man. So Marvin Vettori needs to get a win, or else things are going to start getting weird, but I think that's going to be the clear next option. Jared Cannonier, he was number 3 in the world at middleweight. I think he goes up to number 2, personally. I think he overtakes Paulo Costa just because of the inactivity of Costa, you know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, that that'll be an interesting matchup. We'll have to see. That's October 21st. That's just a couple months away, man. So it should be clearing up the middleweight title picture in the near future. Now, for the lightweights, Marco Madsen, he came in at 37. I think he gets a little slight bump up to about 33 because Clay Guida was up in there. He fought an old veteran, man, and he calls out Gregor Gillespie to see who's going to be the best grappler in the lightweight division. I think that's too high of a jump. I know what he's trying to do. He's saying, I'm 36, 37 years old. I need to fast track this thing, man. I need to get up to the title shot. I don't have much time. However, with a decision victory against Clay Guida where you couldn't even secure one takedown on the man, I do not think that you have earned the right to jump up to a ranked opponent immediately, because that's not even prime Clay Guida, man. That's 39-year-old Clay Guida. I know he's an ageless wonder, but still. So with that being said, I think I have a young gun because I think this is what we have to do. He's older, man. He's 36. You got to fight the young guys or the old guys, one or two. You know what I'm saying? So I got a good one that you might not expect, but I'm interested to know who you think that the Olympian should fight next.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he jumps up to Gregor Gillespie. And it seemed like Gregor Gillespie was the hot name everybody was trying to call out, man. He must have pissed some people off. But I honestly think the same thing. Marco Madsen needs to fight somebody a little younger in the game, kind of coming up on the up and come. And I'm going to Amir Ismagulov. Great wrestler coming out of the Russian. Is that who you had? Did I sneak your pick?
No, I almost went that way. I say his name way too much in this matchmaking, so I cooled off this time. But I was like, that's perfect. I love that. But keep going.
Yeah, no, it's a good fight. And especially because Damir Ismagulov is so good at grappling, so good at wrestling, that it'd be a good thing. But I want to see how much better Marco Madsen looks like against a grappler, but also a striker, somebody who can stand and bang, somebody who can get it going on the feet. That's what I'm going with. I also had Jakar Close, another smaller on the radar, but I think the bigger jump would be Damir Ismagulov. Who's your guy, Derick?
I didn't want to give Marco Madsen anybody coming off of a loss. I wanted to give him someone good. I wanted him to fight up, and I think he can do that. However, listen. Ultimately, I got look, Sasha making an appearance in the back. Shout out, you know what I'm saying? But I got apologies, folks. I'm over here blanking on the name. The Gamer, Mateusz Gamrot. I think that's who the man needs to fight next. 19-1 Mateusz Gamrot, who is a legit grappler, who has very excellent striking as well. Pinpoint accurate striking, man. I think it'll be a tough test because if you do get him down, his grappling is so good that he might be able to mitigate some of that wrestling. I'm not sure if he can, but I think it would be a tough test, and I think that this would be a good test for Madsen to take on his way up to then fighting those ranked fighters because, like I said, man, Clay Guida is an incredible name to have, an incredible feather in the cap, but that's not enough to fight a Gregor Gillespie next, in my opinion. I know UFC works in crazy, miraculous ways, but that's who I think is next. That sound good? Yeah?
Yeah, I like the Gamer. I like that. I like that a lot, as well as Damir Ismagulov. I feel like they both have the same kind of, accreditation or techniques-wise, all that stuff. I like it a lot.
Right on, man. All right, move on to another lightweight matchup, man. Vinc from Pichel. He came in about number 25, and he makes no change because Austin Hubbard was about 60. You know what I mean? So this was one. That's why I was saying the odds didn't make sense to me because it's like people was acting like Vinc Pichel was some prospect that hasn't fought nobody. But I think that I got a big name for him, man. It's probably not gonna make sense off the bat to you, but I can validate this in my own head on why this makes sense to me. But I want to know, who do you think is next for Vinc Pichel?
Yeah, I have a couple that I wanted to see, and like I said, I know he also called out Gregor Gillespie, and that, like I said, it's a big name a lot of people are trying to get at. But I want to see how Vinc Pichel actually handles another wrestler. I was expecting Austin Hubbard to go to work on the ground game. Didn't really do that. It was much more of a stand-up fight, which, don't get me wrong, I think it was a lot of fun. But I want to see him either fight like a good wrestler with some good hands. So I'm thinking Brad Riddell. I think that'd be a scrap. Like I said, amazing on the feet. You want to see a good wrestler? That's Brad Riddell's right there, and he's got some hands. He can bang, man. Who's your guy?
See, that's even a little tougher than the dude that I had, man. But I have a tough son of a gun over here, man. I got the dude who is the incredible, sparkling golden voice on our sleeper drop, man, Bobby King Green. I think that, yes, the man's coming off of 2 losses. Yes, he's 27-12, but he's a big name that could propel you up the divisional rankings, who could box with the best of them, and he could stuff the takedowns when needed, man. So this would be a tough test to see how good Vinc Pichel's grappling truly is versus how good his striking is becoming now that he's really letting it go at Factory X Muay Thai. I think that would be a banger of a matchup.
Yeah, I think so too. I saw Bobby Green on the list as well, and the only reason I didn't want to is just because I wanted to see how, and like in this match, I saw exactly how Vinc Pichel can hold himself on the feet. That movement was amazing, so I really want to see how he handles a grappler going forward before we feed him to the dogs. And I honestly still consider Bobby Green, man, one of the dogs, bro. He's not a slouch and he's not an easy night out. So I'd say that's a great fight as well, man.
He is absolutely. He's the furthest thing from a slouch, man. He is probably the toughest unranked fighter you're going to come across right now in that division. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to that, man. The next one that we got is the underdog sensation, Saidyokub Kakhramonov, man. He came in at about 82, makes a 40 spot jump up over there to about number 40, so about 42 spots or whatnot. We can go anywhere with this one, man. This is just so random. So I'm actually going to go first on this one if you don't mind. I think that he needs to fight somebody not too high up the rankings because listen, you won one UFC fight on 4 days notice, man. Let's see how you do against somebody who does a full training camp against you and sees how good you are and things of that nature. I want to give him to somebody who, yes, he is coming off of some losses. He's had a very rough start to his UFC career, but he could shut anybody's lights off with a one punch, and his name is Khalid Taha, coming in about number 65. He's 13-4. He's a striker. Like I said, he could shut anyone's lights off. And it'd be interesting to see how Kakhramonov would use his mixture of striking and grappling to try to, stave off that offensive attack, that offensive repertoire of Taha. What do you think? And who do you have next?
I'm right there with you, Derick. He was actually my second pick. I agree. I think that would be a crazy fight. Like the way Khalid Taha does fight, he's a scrapper. Kakhramonov's going to come in with the reach advantage on that one, or the height advantage. So it's going to be interesting to see how he handles an absolute bruiser and someone who's going to utilize pace like Taha, especially how good of a wrestler he is coming out of Germany. I wanted to see, though, first off, I want to see how this dude handles against an absolute killer out there. Not too high up on the rank. Like I said, I don't want to see this dude, jump up right to the top off of 4 days notice, but I want to see him fight Jose Albert Quinones. Okay. That dude's an absolute killer. He's, it's a small jump. I think it was like 10 people or so. But he can strike, he can grapple, he has a whole deal. He's got hands, and they're about the same height. So it's going to be an interesting play on like that whole reach, reach, pressure, all that whole gambit going forward. But I think either of those going to make for a great fight.
Absolutely, man. I want to see this man and what he can do in the UFC. You know what I'm saying? Beating Trevin Jones is not an easy task, regardless of what excuses we could put in front of it. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Kakhramonov, man. And the last thing we got is just Alexandre Pantoja. He moves up to number 2, if you're asking me. I think Askar Askarov gets penalized for that missing weight, so you get dropped down one spot or something like that. But title match next, right? I mean, can we go anywhere else besides the title match?
Unless you want to throw him to Deuce de Guerra, brother. I don't think. I had it going to Moreno. I definitely think Askar Askarov deserves the fight, if that makes sense. But he didn't earn the fight by missing weight. So I'd say throw Pantoja to Brandon Moreno. Let's see the rubber match. I guess it's not really a rubber match because he's 2-0 against Moreno. But let's see if the dude can get it back, especially now that he's on top, man. I think that's the fight to make going forward.
And it would be one of those things where, honestly, when they was doing their little promo where, like, Moreno was outside of the cage and then, Pantoja was giving him his little nice call-out, it honestly made the champion look bad, man, because he's all like, yeah, this dude, like, has dusted you twice, bro. Like, what's going to be different here? Pantoja's like, I'm not ready to win the belt. I'm ready to defend that thing, man. Like, I'm the champ, basically, the unspoken champ. So it'd be interesting because I wonder what would happen if Moreno is a dog. We know that. But if Pantoja can beat Moreno and then Moreno has to either fight Moreno, or if Pantoja can beat Moreno and then Pantoja has to then fight Figueiredo or Askarov, I think it'd be interesting to see all of those matchups come into play because Pantoja, his last loss, I believe, is to Askar Askarov. I think that's the fight that we're talking about where he missed the weight or whatever, but either way, whether that's true or not, someone Google it. You know what I'm saying? Fact check that thing. Don't believe everything you hear on the internet, folks. But
fact check it and hit us in the comments with it.
Exactly. Say less, man. All right, cool. So that's the matchmaking, folks. And now let's move on to a little bit of news wire. AJ got a couple of things on the word on the street, man. So we've been talking Olympic this, Olympic that, Olympic silver, Greco-Roman. Shout out to Marco Madsen, but there's another Olympic medalist, an Olympic gold medalist, who is making rounds with Bellator, the UFC, WWE. He's meeting up with all of them. And I really want to do a thought experiment here, AJ. I want to ask the Olympic gold medalist, the heavyweight freestyle wrestler, Gable Steveson, who won gold in the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, man. Listen, he's going to be the next big thing for combat sports. But my question to you is this. I've said that American boxing has fallen by the wayside over the past couple of decades simply because people that were big and strong who looked like LeBron James said, I can go get punched in my head and get brain damage and, not get paid for it. Or I can go play football or basketball and do these things and get paid a whole lot for the damages that I'm incurring on my head and all of these different things, right? My question is that, we're seeing this Olympics to combat sports kind of tunnel. We're kind of seeing that more and more often. It's happened throughout all the years of the UFC and whatnot. Do you think, if you were in this position, you were a Gable Steveson and you just wanted to make a boatload of money, why not do the WWE? Why not do the Brock Lesnar approach? You know what I'm saying? If we're talking business, if we're talking money, why not? What do you think about this whole entire scenario, AJ?
I mean, I think if you're strictly in it for the entertainment and that's the play, man. That's the play. You want to make some cash, go get on something scripted so that way that you're actually winning, you're making that money. You can play it up, you can be the heel, you can be the good guy. There's a lot of different options going forward in the WWE, especially, they always have that younger crowd that's always going to be a fan no matter what. I feel like there's a certain point where you kind of you outgrow the WWE a little bit and you start kind of moving to other sports. You start moving to UFC and you kind of go for that, but they'll always have that built-in crowd. And don't get me wrong, I say you outgrow it. It might have just been me that outgrew it because there are a lot of people. Those shows still sell out regardless. I think that's the play. I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel like you should want to step into the UFC because this is the real deal proving ground. But if you're in it for the cash, brother, and at the end of the day, it's a career. The WWE is a career, whereas UFC is more of an opportunity, like Dana White always likes to say. I mean, if I'm Gable Steveson, especially with the wrestling, you don't want to go get punched in the head for real. Come on, man. I think the WWE is the way to go if you're looking to make some cash. What do you think?
I'm with you, man. And I honestly think that this is going to be it's the detriment of what American combat sports is because, I always said if you're a fighter, you probably don't have many options in life. And that's not a disrespectful thing. That's the truth, right? You don't see rich kids be like, I want to box for a living. I want to fight to make a living and support my family. Why would you do that, right? So when you got these people who are we're talking about the insurgents or the revelations of the Dagestani boys, right? That's all they know out there. That's what they do out there. You go these Russian cats, man. You got these cats in Africa, these French people, who are now able to now do MMA and whatnot. Shout out to France, you know what I'm saying? They're being inspired by the Francis Ngannous, by the Cyril Gans to now want to be okay, we could do this, When you're not in this plethora of opportunity in America and whatnot, a lot of these times that is their national sport. That's why I love Thailand, because their national sport is Muay Thai. It's Thai boxing. You know what I'm saying? It's not basketball. It's not baseball. In America, America's pastime, baseball. Yeah, it's all right, you hit a ball with a stick. All right, cool. They punch people in the face for a living. That's what they do for fun out there. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's why American boxing has fallen off. Fortunately, the UFC, the MMA in its entirety is a global sport, but UFC, as of the COVID era, has been very America heavy, obviously, because of travel issues and restrictions and whatnot. Nonetheless, I just think it's important to keep note of these things, right? Because you want the best athletes in the world to be in your sport, not WWE. You know what I'm saying? That's entertainment. That's not even, shout out to them. That's a grueling thing that they do, man. They on the road, they really have physical injuries and all that, man. That's no joke. But come on, man. Let's see who's the real baddest man on the planet. You feel me? But with that being said, AJ, man, I just got one last thing before we get out of here. And this is something we already rehashed earlier. I want to ask you this, man. Because I said that some people could argue Kayla Harrison, how dominant she has been. It's overpassed and overtaken the Ronda Rouseys of the world, but she hasn't really fought the same competition that Ronda Rousey has. Ronda Rousey, she had competitive fights, actually, whether she's fighting Kat Zingano or the Miesha Tates or, the Liz Carmouches, you know what I'm saying? She's fighting real deal cats, right? Kayla Harrison, by no fault of her own, is just smashing through her opponents to the point where it's not even fun to watch. It's just a mauling. It's not even oh fuck, who's gonna win? It's they did the most to build up Jenna Fabian before she just no strikes. She got no strikes off. She was supposed to be the City Kickboxing product. They got the scientists at City Kickboxing that are, come on, man. Israel Adesanya is one thing, man, but the rest of them is a different story. I just have to ask you this, man. Can Kayla Harrison ever reached the heights, the fames, the pinnacles that Ronda Rousey ever did without a real set of like legit opposition in front of her? Like, does she have to make a UFC run to finally actually get the respect that she deserves? Because she is a killer regardless. She is a 2-time judoka gold medalist. You know what I'm saying? She's a savage for real, but just give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think she has to. It's the same thing. Like, you can play in the minor leagues all day, striking people out, or catching all the touchdowns, doing all the stuff. But if you're not doing it in the big show, I mean, it's kind of a moot point because you're not really playing the best opposition going forward. You're scoring touchdowns on the Browns practice squad all day, but you can't actually get into the NFL and start doing it there. Okay, you're good enough for who you're playing against, but are you good enough to go against the top dogs in the division? It's hard, man. Especially, it's crazy how much of a gap the UFC has, at least visually, to everybody else. We'll see. I would love to see the interpromotional fights going on, kind of like how boxing does it. Except that's a whole nother gambit. That's a whole nother corkscrew of cans we need to open. But it'd be interesting to see how she does, especially because the UFC doesn't have a 155-pound weight division for women. So she would have to drop down. They've basically gotten rid of the 145. So in order for Kayla Harrison to jump in the UFC, she's going to have to drop 20 pounds of already what she's probably cutting a good, 20, 30 pounds already. So it's a hard one to go forward, but I do think she needs to kind of get a little bit more clout, a little bit more shine, and to actually make it to that Ronda Rousey level, or even any of the fighters. She wants to be like Amisha Tate, or she wants to be, any of these women fighters who are really kind of have a name for themselves going forward. The Preacher's Daughter, somebody like that. She needs to make not only a statement in the PFL, but then say like, okay, I want $1 million over here. Check it out. I'm taking Amanda Nunes' belt. Like that would be the thing to go forward. That would make it like an absolute insane headline, cut a promo, all that stuff. I know some people get mad when you say, this is an entertainment business. You need to be about your business. But I feel like in order to actually get to that level, she needs to come to where the eyes are looking. You can shout from a soapbox all day on the corner, but if you're not doing it when people are around you, what's the real point going forward? What do you think, Derick?
I absolutely agree. I feel like it's kind of similar to how Michael Chandler, even though he was a multiple-time lightweight champion in Bellator, didn't really get the respect until he came in and knocked out Dan Hooker in the UFC. Then people said like, oh, okay. All right, this dude is legit, man. Like, he just came in and just starched a dude who people cannot do that to in the UFC. So, like, all right, right on. And then the performance he had against Charles Oliveira, yeah, he lost, but he almost won, right? He was, like, right there on the brink of victory, until he got, what did he get? He got finished? Yeah, he got finished by Charles Oliveira, man. So, regardless, man, I think that she needs to go and everyone talks about this, she needs to fight Amanda Nunes. Well, they're training partners, man, so it's kind of tough to make that happen. But she needs to fight a UFC real deal like opponent, a string of them to get that respect, man. So I do think that it'll be hard to reach those peaks, but if you're making $1 million year after year in the PFL, why does any of that even matter? Yeah, you don't get the respect, but you got the money. And that's some of those things that a lot of these UFC legends who got the respect but never got the money, you ask them, what would you rather have today? And they might be like, paycheck might be nice. You know what I'm saying? Like, respect don't pay my bills. You feel me? So I will say that, but I do have to talk about, because you said Kayla Harrison cutting promos and things of that nature. I want you a quick response on what you think about what she said. She says, if you think that the puzzle of solving, you know what I'm saying, like what Kayla Harrison is, she said that, like, she spoke like in third person. She's like, if you think you could solve this puzzle, she's like, there is no puzzle. She says, I'll take Israel Adesanya down. I'll take him down. Like, nobody could stop me. You think she could do that?
That's a statement right there, brother. I don't think so. I mean, don't get me wrong, she did. Maybe she can, but I don't think so. I mean, I think it's a whole different level, especially strength-wise, physique-wise, body composition-wise, technique, experience. There's a lot going forward. Hell of a promo to cut, though.
Absolutely. I think we learned our lesson when we had the Ronda Rousey era, when it was said that Ronda Rousey could knock out Floyd Mayweather, and then she just got two-pieced and assaulted up by the Preacher's Daughter with that head kick, man. So it's like, the hype is real. Come on, man. Watch yourself, man. This is a different ball game you're playing with. We're talking about the last style bender. We're talking about a dude who, listen, I mean, if Marvin Vettori could barely get the man down and hold him down in their second affair or whatever the case may be, it took a man that was what? 30 pounds heavier in Jan Blachowicz to really hold Israel Adesanya down. Come on, man. But I love the promo. I love the mentality, and I love that she's being a heel, man, because that's what draws the attention, and that's what she needs. She's just trying to garner as much attention, get that nice little paycheck, you know, do. But shout out to the 2-time judo Olympic gold medalist in Kayla Harrison. Shout out to you. Shout out to the Olympics, man. Olympics heavy talk today, man. But that's the news wire. That's all we got for you, folks. So once again, here we are. We got another great card on our hands next week, and this main event is, this is gonna be so good. In Edson Barbosa versus Giga Chikadze. Also, we got the tough finales going on and whatnot. I do have to announce that the middleweight finale was supposed to take place with Brian Battle versus Tresean Gore. Tresean Gore got a knee injury. He will no longer be participating now. The dude who he just starched out in like a round or two in something Urbina, starts with the G. He's a shout out to, Viva la Raza, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's a real one. He comes down with it, you know what I'm saying? We'll see. It'll be a good matchup. A lot of good fights to talk about on this one, folks. But you know what time it is. I do have to remind you that this episode is brought to you by The Bookie, your sharp sports betting friend that sends you the email each and every day full of free picks, tips, tools, and strategies you need to know for the day's games, man. We said it earlier. We go and we get the emails every morning. I checked it this morning. I saw what the baseball picks was looking like on the docket. I'm not really too heavy in following baseball today, so that's why The Bookie helps me out. The newsletter helps me out and gives me the stats that I need to know. Okay, head to head, the A's have won 4 times against this other team. Okay, well, that's good to know, because we're going to take that, we're going to factor it into the bets that we putting out, wherever you betting on, MGM, my bookie, Oregon lottery, whatever. AJ, what you think about The Bookie, big dog?
Bro, I love it. And like I said before, the homies that are watching this, that I got the insider picks coming up for the fantasy draft, MLB, whatever it is, we winning some money with The Bookie. You better get those emails sent to you daily. I love it, man. I love it a lot.
I'll just tell you what, man, if there's a competitive edge to be had, you might as well go and get it, man. It's a free daily newsletter, so that's really what it comes down to for me. So once again, folks, if you are a sports fan that likes to make money, you like informative statistics that will not go over your head, even if you are a casual fan, you need to sign up for the Bookie newsletter at www.thebookie.co. That is THEBOOKIE.co, and tell them that the Bloody Water podcast sent you. You dig? But all right, folks, that is basically it for this episode. Drop a like, subscribe. You see the subscribe button. It's there every week if you're watching. I'm pointing at it. Click on that thing right now. While you at it, you might as well. Come on, man. Hit them subscribers. Let's get our subscriber count up just a little bit more. You already know what time it is, because we over here day in, day out, doing the film study, doing the research, and giving you the picks that you need to be successful and win some green. Like I said, I hit big on the Jared Cannonier unanimous decision plus 550 MMA prop this weekend. If you listen to me, you will make some money. You listen to my guy AJ, regardless of the poor week that he had this week, you will make some goddamn money, man. So that's basically it for us this week, folks. Tune in Mondays and Fridays, 8 a.m. every single week. Until next time, folks. Peace.